Not considering the underground movement in the 70s or the 80s, you were the first one who, like, in the mainstream level, were very worried about technology, about, like, I don't want to call it industrial,
no,
but like
worried
about that, like telling a truth, a point. I mean, what's the world coming to? Whatever, the internet, the satellite. You were talking about that in Acton Baby.
Not so much worried. I mean, just commenting about it, because everything is going to be very different in 10 years' time, and we're right at the, you know, we're just right at the edge of a huge revolution, like the Industrial Revolution, the turn of the last century, and I actually am quite excited by it, as well as frightened by it. And you have a situation where, I mean, the internet is an extraordinary device to bring people together, to talk, but at the same time, some people aren't leaving their house, and you know, you have a situation like we met a guy that we grew up with a few months back, and he's a computer operator, and he came out with us. Somebody had thrown a party, and this guy was a lot of fun, and he wasn't really able to relax and enjoy himself, and we were asking him, you know, what was the problem, and he said, oh, I don't know, I'm not used to talking to people in their bodies. So I was like, right, okay. And so you have this kind of freakish lifestyles in cyberspace, which, you know, which is interesting. But I think basically we're just getting off on the fact that I think it's a time of change, and well, hopefully it could be a time for change for the better. But it might not be. That depends on what you and I and Larry over there in the corner and whoever's listening wants to do about it, you know. But it really is a time of change, that's for sure.
Larry, how do you feel about like this technology thing, getting into U2's music, loops, samplers, drum machines, and the new era of U2 in the 90s?
Well, from a drummer's point of view, you can't fight it, so you got to work with it. But from my point of view, I need it. I need it to make me sound great, you know, and that's what it does. So I love it. Bring it on, you know.
Okay.
So I like it. I think it's important. It's exciting. It's different. I don't think electronic music is necessarily that interesting. I think it can become quite linear, but the mixture between, you know, musicians and technology, that's good. I like that. Brings out a whole
I'd just like to
new thing.
interrupt there. I'd like to interrupt that transmission to say that, you know, Larry's not just a good rock drummer, he's a great rock drummer, and don't listen to him talk. He doesn't need any of this shit. And the reason I think he's playing with it is because it's fun, and it's to see how far you can take it. And, you know, let's not turn rock and roll music into folk music. You know, because people had the same argument about guitar originally, you know, and people were throwing bottles at Bob Dylan when he turned from being, you know, a folk singer to plugging in an electric guitar. But the same, you know, Jimi Hendrix, you know, we love the way he sounds, right? That wild, spiraling, distorted guitar sound, that came through a printed circuit, you know, it's a little printed circuit. And still rock and roll is playing with technology. They're just different printed circuits, newer kinds of printed circuits.